Hey y'all, hey, and welcome to Tootie Talk Sense, and I am Tootie. So I want to welcome all the new subscribers and say hi to all my old ones. Welcome back. Don't forget to like, and if you comment, y'all know I'm be in them comment sections replying right back to you. So go ahead, interact, and let's have a good time. So I just wanted to go over and do a quick, hopefully it's gonna be real quick, y'all. Quick review of the Real Housewife of Atlanta, season 15, episode 9. So as I said, for the new people, this is just this channel is commentary of trending topics. Now, I am new to watching the any reality, but I'm starting to watch this Real Housewife of Atlanta. I know it's on season 15, y'all. I ain't have time to go back and watch all of them. I started on season 15, so I won't take offense if y'all go down and comment and correct me on some things that I say wrong or backstories that I don't know about when I'm doing this commentary. Now, I want to spend most of the time, I'm going to spend talking about Cherie and her fibroid issues. I feel like the Real Housewife of Atlanta, I feel like the majority of the audience is black women. And the way that fibroids affect black women, that I'm like, that would have been a great conversation for them to have and indulge more and explain more about what fibroids are and how it affects you and disproportionately affects black women in the way that black women are disproportionately sent to have hysterectomies. And I'm like, that would have been a great education thing they could have threw up in the fuzz. So that's why I was like, I just want to go on and say a little information about that, y'all. So it ain't gonna be much going on today. So first, I want to just start off with what are fibroids. Like that's that one. I want to read from the article to give y'all actual the definition. This is the Mayo Clinic definition of what are fibroids. So uterine fibroids are non-cancerous growth of the uterus that often appears during childbearing years. And you can see there the picture of the uterine fibroids. So many women have uterine fibroids sometimes during their life, but you might not know that you have uterine fibroids because they often cause no symptoms. So the symptoms in women who have symptoms, the most common signs and symptoms of uterine fibroids includes heavy menstrual bleeding, menstrual periods lasting more than a week, pelvic pressure or pain, frequent urination, difficulty emptying the bladder, constipation, back or leg pain. Rarely a fibroid can cause acute pain when it outgrows its blood supply and begin to die. Now, I have had personal experience with that. The acute pain when the blood supply begins to die. I have personal history with that when I was pregnant with my second daughter. And when I say acute pain, it's some pain so intense. For me, my first two kids, I did all natural. I had no epidural or anything. That pain was worse than childbirth because there's no, sorry y'all, my camera went out, so I'm gonna just keep going. I don't know why it went out. I don't know if it's gonna come back up. But that pain is it's worse than childbirth because there's at least with childbirth there's a time when you get a relief from the pain. That pain is constant, nonstop. It was so severe. They while I was pregnant, I was hospitalized, and they had to. I had one of the buttons, the push buttons for the medication, and I'm like, is this safe for the baby? Like this medicine is strong, like, but I was there for about a week and on that medication, on the pain pills through my IV because the pain was so severe and there was bleeding and everything. They needed to make sure that the baby was okay, kept me on a monitor and everything until that episode was over. And when that happens, they said a lot of the time, like you'll go through that, but then the fibroid will die off and then it gets smaller and you won't have to deal with it. And so this is what my doctor told me too. Sometimes that a pregnancy will reduce your fibroids because the body naturally protects the baby and the blood supply is not going to go to the fibroids is going to go more to the baby, and they will either get smaller or sometimes they'll die off. Now, they do grow back. So I did have on my third pregnancy, still had problems, but I didn't have those problems. Didn't have to get hospitalized, and I wasn't in pain. So that's the explanation of what the fibroids are. I want to get into more about how it affects Black women, because it disproportionately affect Black women. Now, they don't have a cause of fibroids. That they have what they assume is like it's the too much hormones, high blood pressure, obesity, things of that nature. They assume what cause it or make fibroids worse, but there's not a definite cause for it yet. So I want to go to how it affects Black women. So uterine fibroids are the most common benign pelvic tumors in women and are the major indication for hysterectomy. Fibroids are more common and more severe among African American women. Although this disease disproportionately affects the African American population, we understand little about what causes this disparity. Fibroids can be considered a public health issue given the magnitude of the problem and the cost of health care for this disease. So let me also cite where I am getting this from. This is from the National Library of Medicine, and this is an article called "The Health Disparity of Uterine Fibroids for African American Women: A Public Health Issue." So uterine fibroids, okay, uterine fibroids are the most common benign tumor. Ultrasound evidence showed that more than 80% of African American women and approximately 70% of white women will have uterine fibroids by age 50. However, because only 20 to 50% of all women with fibroids experience related symptoms, and because screening for fibroids is not routine, the true incidence is difficult to ascertain. So, these. So, alternative treatment options includes many alternatives to hysterectomy, including medical therapy, minimum invasive surgery, uterine artery immobilization, magnetic resonance guide, focused ultrasound. Hysterectomy, however, remains the most common intervention in the United States. Fibroids are the leading indication for hysterectomy. In addition to having a greater lifetime incidence of fibroids, African American women have a threefold increased age adjusted incident rate and threefold increased related risk of fibroids when adjusted for other confounding factors. Some investigators suggest a doubling of risk for Hispanic women, whereas others suggest that only African American women have increased risk. African ancestry is considered a key risk for the development of fibroids. African American women have fibroids diagnosed at earlier age, are more likely to be symptomatic, and are likely to have different responses to medical treatment than white women. The size and growth rate of fibroids are greater in African American women. They are more likely to undergo surgical intervention than other racial groups. Approximately 42 per 1,000 women are hospitalized annually because of fibroids, but African American women have higher rates of hospitalization in hysterectomy compared with white women. An investigation showed that greater than 75% of fibroid study did not report the patient race, and most of the studies reporting race were those exclusively of African American women. So, so the rest of it, this is a whole article that you can go on and read. So I just want to read. I just wanted to read a couple of paragraphs to show you how much that it affects African American women. So information on the genetic bias of basis of fibroids in Black women has been sparse for several reasons. First, many of the important genetic studies of fibroids using exome sequencing, wide association. Okay, so I'm trying to scan through it just to get y'all the information. So, first of all, the genetic information on why, pretty much why it affects Black women more than any other races. They don't have a real genetic answer because most of the information, most of the studies done on fibroids didn't include Black women. So they can't tell you why when we weren't part of the study. And then I also wanted to, because I had seen this before, that African American women, for anybody who's been following and it have came up, especially during COVID, that the health and how Black people are treated in the health system, um, and the rate that Black women die in childbirth compared to white women. And it also have come up that Black women are given have the hysterectomy more often than white women um, because of the biases in the health system, and we're not offered certain alternatives that other white women offer. It's like they protect their uterus, but us, the first thing you go to is, well, go ahead and get a hysterectomy instead of other options that are available. So this article there's a section that says differences in surgical procedures and outcome. So surgical treatment for fibroids is especially prevalent among Black women because both an early age of onset and more symptomatic disease. African American women are 2 to 3 times more likely to undergo hysterectomy for fibroid tumors than other racial groups. The total rate of hysterectomy for African American women and white women were similar from 1988 through 1990. However, fibroids as the primary indication for fibroids was much higher for African American women, 61% versus 29% for white women. This pattern was confirmed in another large cohort of 80,000 women, which again showed that African American women have slightly higher rates of fibroid procedure than white women. Comparison of the rates of hysterectomy in African American women and white women indicate that African American women are more likely than white women to undergo myomectomy and hysterectomy. So I just wanted to present that information because fibroids came up in the, let me stop saying my strength, because fibroids came up, and that was one of the first things that came up for episode 9 with Sheree, and she's going about it the holistic treatment route instead of having surgery. Because if you have surgeries, you can't have surgeries to get the fibroids. They pretty much shave it off. I have went through that procedure, and for me, I have various ones, and I have some very large ones. So they was able to shave off the very large one. It was at a point that the doctors, like, they was afraid that I would bleed out pretty much. I would bleed and they wouldn't be able to stop the bleeding. So they was only able to shave it down to a certain point. Majority of the women, those do grow back, and you would have to have the procedure again, depending on your symptoms. Because some people don't have symptoms. Unfortunately, I do. So also in my life, I know 3 women who was all under the age of 30 and had to have hysterectomies due to fibroids. And in those cases, the doctors did not offer other alternative method for treatment for the fibroids. So I'm like, I just want Black women to be aware of fibroids if you don't know about it, because you could think that, oh, I'm just having a very heavy cycle, or these cramps are very bad, or the pain and the pelvic pain, and like mine's, I can't, the first 2 days I'm not able to walk. I have a pain in my leg, and like it's different symptoms for different women. So I think that they miss a perfect opportunity just to educate. So the next one was Marlo. The next scene was Marlo, and she had went on her date in the previous episode. She went on her date with the restaurant owner, and he sent her a text that said good morning. I was like, I don't know, y'all. Maybe it's just me, because when I was dating, baby, I would hate the good morning, beautiful, good morning, gorgeous text, because I knew men who just copy and paste. That was like a mass text that they sent out. Like, I need you to put my name up in that, bud. Like, put good morning, Tootie. Hey, beautiful girl. After you done said Tootie, because I need to know that this ain't no general text that you didn't copy and paste and sent to everybody else. Now, and that's just me, because I'm a little jaded now. But good thing I got over that, y'all. So, but anyway, that's what he did. He sent her a text and said, Good morning, beautiful." And she was talking about that discussion. So the next scene is Drew and her sister Allison. And Drew and her sister Allison, they're 20 years apart. And Allison was having mental issues and took a break, but now they're back together. So they say that Allison used to be Drew manager since she was 9. That's a mom manager. So since she was 9, got her out there, got her the ones responsible for her acting and being in the Hollywood scene. So Allison had dealt with domestic violence, and that led to PTSD, and she had mental issues that she was dealing with. I know in a previous episode, I got distracted. My phone had rang, and if my camera was on, y'all could see that, but it's not. So click on the camera button to turn back up. Okay, look, I'm trying to cut it back on, y'all. Let's see if it's gonna cut back on. Nope. Okay, I tried though, y'all. I tried. But in the previous episode, I remember Drew saying that Allison is the one who told her husband was controlling, and her husband had disallowed her sister to be at the house. And I was like, isn't that ironic? So somebody's saying you controlling, so you're gonna control the situation that allow her to be at the house. Now, because her sister had came into town, was coming into town to visit, and so her husband, Ralph, I want to say is his name, but her husband, when the sister came into town, was in the other room and everything, didn't come down and say nothing to the sister. But then the next scene, they end up talking everything out. So I'm like, with the sister coming back, I wonder how this finna shake out, and if it have anything to do with, because the rumors are, of course, these episodes are recorded months ago. So the rumor now is that the Drew and her husband are going through a divorce. So I'm like, I wondered if it had anything to do with it, even though they haven't talked about it on the show yet. But the rumor is they're going through a divorce. Now, Cherie meets with Lisa, Deshaun, and Kim for lunch. So I watched Candy speak on it, and she was like she wasn't offended, because I guess Candy have been there since the second season, and these women was there for a long time, and they was there since the first season. Candy said she wasn't offended that she wasn't invited, but she was wondering why Nene wasn't there, because Nene was there from the first season. So I know that Nene was in the news, and how she disconnected or got fired or quit or whatever it want to be from this reality TV show, and then was into it with the creator of it. So I said, if Candy is speculating, like, yeah, that's probably what happened, but she really wondered why she wasn't there. And then they asked Kim about her divorce and her foreclosed house, and she was just like, "Oh no, I'm not going through a divorce." And I'm like, like, now she's not going through a divorce, and that was just like a couple of days or a week before this came out. But all before that, her husband was going through the divorce, calling police on each other, everything. And people was saying, I have heard different people who was commentating on this, that they thought she was doing it for views, that she's trying to come back on a show and need a storyline, that divorce was it, because the foreclosure was real, because she needed some money. So she needed to make up a story. About her husband to get back on the show to get the money to say the house. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, but it seems to be Because once this episode didn't air, right before this episode aired, now you and your husband is reportedly back together. I was like, that's a little fishy. But then she says the house not going through foreclosure. I'm like, you know, it's paperwork, right? People can just look it up. Like, but okay. So then it's Sonya event. So it starts off with Sonya and her event that she's doing for charity to give assistance to homeless mother. Yeah, to give assistance to homeless mother. So Sonya is there. Her sister, of course, still works for her, is there doing her hair and was telling her, you need to be more cautious of my time. You didn't even tell me I needed to be here. And, I got other stuff I need to do. I'm also a wife. I'm also a mother. Pretty much, I can't be at your beck and call. So I said, I don't know what parts was cut off because Sonya then started crying. I'm like, what is Sonya crying for? The girl's just telling her the truth and on how she feels about the situation and how she don't either feel value or how you need to consider her time more. But I said, Saya got to crying. And I said, what's funny is that her sister's kind of like my personality. My younger sister told me I'm a little like blunt, a little abrasive when I talk. And I'm like, I just be saying, I just be talking. Like the way I be talking, I just be saying, I'll be like, what I said, everything I said was honest. What's the problem? What's the problem? But as a baby, Sonya, I would assume Sonya is probably the younger sister for her feelings to be hurt about what her sister said, because I didn't see anything that was offensive in what her sister said. So they end up, they was moving on. Kenya was supposed to become to be the auctioneer at this charity event, but Kenya was late. She was over an hour late. Sonya presented an award to Sheree. And I said, when Kenya did make it there, she got up to auction. She go and say the goal that Sonya had initially was $50,000, and Kenya like $50,000. This table alone could get you $50,000, which was the table was the Real Housewife of all the women from the Real Housewife of Atlanta, and she like this table alone get you $50,000. I said, babe, if I was saying at that time, I would hold on now. Don't be counting my pockets just because you got it like that. Don't mean I got it like that because you don't know what the women going through. Just because they on the show, we don't know the finance behind what's going on. So on Candy Speaks, she was saying how Sheree is the one who was presented with the award, but she was saying how the part was cut out about how long it took them to get some doggone money from Sheree and for Sheree to agree to give the money. And well, I know just from season 15, I'm quite sure everybody else who watch it know from previous season how the thing is that Sheree don't like to pay for nothing, don't pay her people and things of that nature. Seems like she very tight pocket. So I'm like, now this one, I'll be right there with Sheree. Like, just because y'all don't date. Now, if I had the money to give it, okay, but you don't know. I don't know how that She by Sheree is going. We don't know how profitable that is. Is she losing money? Is she actually making a profit, or what her finance is? If she may be like Tasha K. She ain't got it. Everybody ain't got it. I know I don't got it. My cash out right there. You want to donate? Go ahead. Now, so y'all, that's pretty much how that episode ended. I like I said, I'm new to it, but I like the show. People are saying that the views are down. Candy went and said on her speak on it that the views are not down. That the views are most of the views are coming on Peacock, because I know I watch it on Peacock. I don't watch it the day of. I watch it the next day, and then I hear people saying the views are down because they don't have all the drama that they used to have. Like I heard some people saying that it's boring now. I'm like, well, so which one y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna complain that all they do is show black women arguing and fighting, or you gonna be happy with a show that show some, according to y'all, this one is boring. So you don't have all that drama, all the fighting and all the bickering back and forth. Yeah, you still, to me, it's still the bickering back and forth. But I'm new, so maybe it ain't as much as before. So are we gonna be happy with this show, or are we gonna want them to fight? Y'all let me know in the comments. Why are people saying, probably not y'all, but why are people saying that the show is boring now? Is it because they're not fighting? So Do we want them fighting, or we want them to show some, some of their business parts, some of their professional life? Because Kenya's daughter was on there, looked pretty this episode, pretty over there, did with her mom and stuff. So we want to see more of that stuff. Is that why we're saying that it's boring, or do y'all want to see more of the fighting? Go ahead, comment, let me know, and also don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and also leave a comment on what y'all want to talk about next. Thank y'all for watching. I will catch y'all next time. Bye.